We are going to get ready to start our committee meeting. And Mr. Lowe, I'm going to give the floor to you.
Good morning. Thank you, President Hudson and other members of the council who are with us today. I'm Greg Lowe, Chief Policy Officer in the Mayor's Office. Among my duties is intergovernmental affairs. I'm going to step up quickly and change that monitor briefly. It just did its own thing. Okay. The topic today, as you know, is the city's tick and deer management program, and specifically the results from the work that was completed in 2024-25, and then looking ahead to plans for the upcoming season, which will start later this year and carry over into early next year. Some quick background as a reminder, things that the public and councilors may remember, but always worth covering again, is we are addressing a long-standing problem that's existed in the city regarding overpopulation of deer. This is not a topic that any of us relish to be undertaking, but one that the circumstances of our ecosystem and human interaction with it have created. This is a program that first began in 2019-2020, so that makes us now heading into our sixth season of deer management, or excuse me, completed sixth season in 2025. And this is a program, we're not alone in the city of Syracuse. This is undertaken by neighboring municipalities who face the same challenge. And in fact, the coordination that goes on at the county level is one of the reasons that this program is recognized also by the county's Office of Environment as an important matter for attention at a multi-levels of government. It is often noted or thought that this is a program that is primarily about Lyme disease. And Lyme disease is a very important public health and safety concern. It has many factors that contribute to Lyme disease. So it's important for us to note that we also complete deer management because of the significant impact of deer motor vehicle accidents, which happen in virtually all parts of the city. And also that there's damage to our environment that are caused by overpopulation of deer. They do have a significant impact on our parks and on people's private property. Here's the background of how the program works. The city, working under the oversight of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, selects locations that meet very specific criteria outlined by the state. In this case, we've identified and worked on east side, west side, and south side. So, Councilor Nava, actually, your district is a district that we do not receive significant reports of deer activity. We hear some. You may get some of them. There is some. Yeah. We hear some. But to this, so far, we have not undertaken the program in sites on the north side. We're open to considering it in the future if we see those kinds of numbers, and I'm glad to talk to you more about it if necessary.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. These are large private properties for the most part, some city-owned properties. In the city-owned property cases, note that this occurs when there's no public access to those sites. They're closed to the public. It requires written permission from property owners within 250 feet of an occupied dwelling, and a notification to property owners within 250 to 500 feet. So, simplest terms, if you live really close, we got to get you to sign a form. If you live further out, we got to send you a letter by certified mail that you know and we know that we got that message to you. These are requirements set by the state. The program is conducted with the help of Onondaga County, the county legislature, the county executive, and the Office of Environment administer this program. I'll cover the details of that briefly. In the 2025 season, this past January through March, we did for the first time use a trap and euthanize method in the city. This was necessary because there are parts of the city where the deer population continues to be very high, but because of the close proximity of people's houses, the use of firearms is not feasible. Can't find places that meet the state criteria. All of this work, the trap and euthanize, the firearms program, are done by qualified wildlife managers who work with the USDA. The program has close involvement with Syracuse Police Department, which is aware of and assists when necessary. We issue a public notice at the start of each season, and we issue public notice about this process. Deer management is, tick and deer management is something that people's engagement should continue over time. And wildlife managers do the work at night. See if we can keep it going.
For you, Greg.
Yes.
When you trap them, what do you do with them?
How about if in just 2 slides, I tell you more about trap and euthanize so that everyone is aware of how that work occurs.
But I just wanted to know about the trapping. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Wait, can you clarify? What was your question? What happens with the remains?
No, okay, so when you trap them,
yes,
you automatically euthanize them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I will be a little more clear about what happens there. Okay. Last season's program, January, February, and March, 137 white-tailed deer were removed, were culled in the city of Syracuse. That does contribute to the food bank. So there were about 4,000 pounds of venison, a little over 12,000 meals that were made possible because the remains are immediately delivered to a processor who ensures that then it's turned around for the food bank. The trap and euthanize pilot, on the screen you can see there's an image of the trap that is used. It's a soft-sided trap with a door that has a kind of like a window shade. And we conducted this pilot, I want to be clear, in one section of the city, the area where this situation with deer population continues to be persistently high, and that's on the east side, where, as I noted earlier, finding sites that using a firearm is just not possible. The traps were placed at 7 properties, and there were 55 deer euthanized.
This marked a pretty fundamental shift in our methods. I heard no pushback from constituents. Did you in the mayor's office?
We have had questions raised at the start of the program this year of the pilot about, but after we, in conducting it, we did not. There's some citizen feedback in some neighborhoods, specific neighborhoods, that stated as a citizen would say the program's gone too far, that there's no deer anymore. And that in some areas, people will notice a reduced or minimal activity as a result of the program. But we know from reports from other parts of even the same side of town, so other parts of the east side, within a mile away, we have reports of very high numbers and significant environmental damage. I'll take a note to just point out now at this point that the program will correct for this. My words, self-corrects, meaning that the USDA wildlife managers only deploy in areas where they are observing activity. So if a site is no longer seeing deer activity, the wildlife managers don't deploy there. They simply monitor and then say, okay, that's not a site we need to operate at. So the program can self-correct in that way. This is a total look at the results over time of deer management in the city. As we anticipated in 2025, with the introduction of the trap and euthanize pilot, which allowed us to be able to operate in areas that previously we couldn't enter, we did see a rise in the number of deer culled. It has still not reached the first year, and we're not necessarily expecting at any point that it will. There we go, a little higher. To Councilor Williams' question in terms of feedback from neighbors or the public, the USDA reported to us throughout its operations over the 3-month program that they had minimal interaction with members of the public or nearby property owners or actual property owners where the work occurs. Part of the results is, what does it cost? The overall cost is around $60,000. This is very similar to last year's program cost. So it's staying around the same right now. It comes close to a 50-50 share, but the formula is a little bit different. The county covers a base amount for all communities of a certain share and then pays a per cost of the rest of the program. And I do want to note, and I think this is, it's a little funny today, a concern that Parks Chair Caldwell has had at previous meetings is around ensuring we have adequate signage. First began with Parks doing a significant increase in the number of signs that appear at parks and ensuring that all the parks that have this activity have them. And most recently, when Councilor Caldwell raised questions and concerns about whether or not the information on the signs was easy enough to read, the Parks Department did an audit of all of the sites and actually concluded, and we think this works, that the problem was the signs were just too high. It's not a matter, actually, that we need to change the content. Those words, warning, the ticks may be found, all work. Parks went through and relocated the signs. And we think they're working better.
Greg, my concern with the signs is not just for parks. Are we also putting the signs at schools that have larger green space or are closer to wooded areas? I'm thinking offhand Corcoran and Roberts. There's a lot of deer activity in that area, and then they both back up to woods.
Wood, yeah.
So
I think school signage is an excellent idea with large areas of green space that I think we could probably pretty uniformly cover with just some simple coordination with the district.
yeah, and then Clary and Van Dyne,
Yeah.
that area.
So Greg,
It's an excellent idea.
were you focusing on Meadowbrook? Was that one of your big targets because of the water and it's populated with runners and families? You have the park there, Berry Park.
Our efforts are always targeted around where we are experiencing reports of damage.
Okay.
And Meadowbrook is an area where over many, many years, there have been significant challenges with deer damage. So it is one of the focus areas.
So has anyone ever approached you about maybe having a deer sanctuary where we could get the deer? Is there a way we could put them out in the forest or someplace have a deer sanctuary?
So one of the, I'll presume that probably you're recognizing that in the city, that would be a very difficult undertaking given the space constraints we have in the city. But even in that case, my understanding is that New York State DEC would forbid movement of deer over areas to other parts of the state or other parts of the region
All right.
for the health issues that can result.
All right, so we all assume that each deer is diseased and.
May
we have
well
to
carry
do that.
disease
Right.
that could be spread to other parts of the state or illnesses that could impact deer that aren't prepared to fight that off.
Okay.
And just offhand, I'm just thinking, as far as signage, it may not be as far as like culling at all, because it may not be to that degree. But there's lots of community gardens that are in like open spaces, and they may very well also have deers frequenting their area, not in large amounts, but there may be like a family. So they may need to be considered for signage at the least.
And I think that's also pretty easily plottable by us. You know, I think we can all know where they are. And frankly, somebody like you, I know a simple text and you'd give me in your district the 6 sites I need to cover. So expect that counselors may hear from me with any recommendations on places we should cover. We could use that help, and we'll undertake that. With the USDA's experience in this work and knowing our area the way that it does, it has recommended 3 primary points for us going forward. Continue to identify additional properties that we should add to make sure we have coverage of where the problems exist. Based on our experience with the pilot program, continue the trap and euthanize method. This is a change in a recommendation or an evolution of a recommendation. It was just last year that USDA had been suggesting to us to undertake this. So it used to say undertake it. Now we've experienced it and think it should be continued. I would note that from the earliest, from the creation of this program, and you'll see it in the record for the city's overarching tick and deer management plan, which was created in 2019, trap and euthanize was always a method studied by this group of citizens with significant help from the USDA and other experts. That group of citizens over years wanted to make sure we continued to demonstrate that the program was worthwhile in the city, could be conducted safely in the city, and then it actually looked at this issue, and it was last year that it said, let's progress to a pilot for trap and euthanize, which tracks with what USDA has said to us, and continue to look at the data that we can collect on deer damage. So we do this in 2 primary ways, in addition to just the raw data that you look at already, right? The raw data you saw earlier, which I'm going to go back quickly, because one thing I didn't do on this slide was point out on the map that we do look at this by quadrant in the city. And it continues, this has never changed. The southeast part of the city is, yes, it's a large geography, but it's also where the predominant deer activity has been and continues to be by a long shot. More than 100 in the southeast, and just looking over to the southwest, 22, which is the next largest. So I want to point out that's one raw piece of data that we track year in and year out. We also engage citizen volunteers in what are called deer diaries. They're diarists, and that data is useful to us to be able to get specifically into smaller parts of the city, neighborhoods where people who are experiencing the problem share that information with us. We're then able to compare that with GIS mapping data and identify locations that could be either in compliance with the state requirements or could work for trap and euthanize. And we do look at deer motor vehicle collision data with the help of the Syracuse Police Department. This data, one quick note, the reason that the numbers are different for the deer is we just look at this based on the calendar year. So the other data you look at was a whole season. It spreads across multiple years, so it included December, January, February, March. This just looks at January, February, March of each year. And then it looks at the same time period for motor vehicle collisions. When you look at this data now over the past 6 years, it has bounced around on us a lot, and it still is. Chief Schaaf, who's with us today, who collects this data and helps us interpret it, has told us it's notable to him that there may be some differences in how officers are recording the data, which could be creating some of these inconsistencies that we're seeing. So we're going to work with SPD to try to make sure that we get as consistent year in and year out reporting as possible. But I'm hopeful. If you look at the next slide, which is going to come. It's a little harder to read, but you do have hard copies here. And for those in the audience, we did see in the southeast area a significant decline in the number of deer motor vehicle collisions. That's been true in all quadrants except the northeast, which has always stayed low. That, in some regards, that it's a sort of a piece of data that gives us a check, right? It's the same conditions citywide of how officers are reporting. The Northeast has always stayed consistently low. And then in the Southeast, Southwest, and Northwest, everything dropped significantly last year. We'll have to continue over the long term to just monitor this data and see what it tells us, which is why it's worthwhile to track. And I want to begin to wrap up and introduce some others who are here today if the council has any questions. From a next step standpoint, we believe the Tick and Deer Management Advisory Group, which I've referenced already, should be continued. That group meets at least annually to provide input on the program. We want to expand the diarist program, which we did make an announcement with the meeting notice for this meeting that we're looking for more people to participate in this program. And I want to be clear, this is for any citizen who has an interest in this matter. There are those who are concerned about a program like this, and that's okay. It would also be okay for those people to come forward and participate in the program and help us with their data based on what we're seeing or what they're seeing. It's a very simple process. We ask people to, on a daily basis, simply make a recording of what they see on their property. Each participant receives an Excel spreadsheet. They track it on the Excel spreadsheet, and they simply share it with us at the mayor's office. We aggregate the data and then use it to try to compare it with GIS mapping and make decisions about where there are areas that we're not able to address.
Greg, are you working with the outside areas like DeWitt?
Yes.
Okay.
Through the USDA's work and with the help of the county, there is coordination with some of the municipalities. There are some municipalities who have chosen not as close into the city to undertake this work on their own. We choose not to in the city and have thus far, with the council's support, always wanted to ensure that this work is done by trained, certified professionals taking the responsibility for this work. But those professionals do interact directly with the most immediate municipalities around us, specifically the ones with the greatest concern, DeWitt and Solvay.
Because like when I go to work, you got that bend, when that bend onto Nottingham Road, and if you look up above where East Colvin is, and I have seen the deer come right down. Yeah. And you're looking, and they're just going to come right down as you're bending, and you're right. It's an accident.
And DeWitt does continue to undertake in a program. We recently had a meeting on the east side to discuss the issues that were occurring in the university area, and DeWitt had a representative present and continues to interact with us.
There's a lot of greenlands where they stay and then they
Yeah.
move.
Yep. Thank you.
Greg, have you guys had any conversations around the possibility of maybe reaching out to veterinarian offices or pet grooming places, or even having someone inquire at pet parks, dog parks per se, when they see ticks on animals, to record like the location that the person lives at, possibly have something that they can fill out saying like, where do you most frequent, so you can kind of get a hold on like the tick management portion of it, like where are the ticks most prevalent?
We have not engaged with veterinarians, pet groomers, and frankly, just a reminder to us, the city's own dog parks are a place where I think we need to check with the parks team and make sure we cover those spaces, because I think that may be a gap for us. I think we can do some outreach to veterinarians, grooming businesses. We have access to that information. There was, for a period of time, Upstate, you may remember, ran the Thangamani Institute, which it no longer has the funding, and that program is not continuing to collect ticks in the way that it did. But there is a community organization that does coordination in this area, the CNY Lyme Alliance. It is particularly focused on the tick issue, which would be a good complement to our work in the city. So we'll follow up with the Lyme Alliance,
Okay.
which we have not had contact with in about the past year, which is a gap we can fill.
Yeah, I saw that there was a tick conference or something just a few
Here.
weeks ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
there was.
Yeah.
That was operated by the Lyme Alliance, I think, and I spoke with one of the citizens who was involved with it.
Yeah, I wish they would have sent something to us. I didn't receive anything.
We do want to continue to monitor and identify areas where, as I noted earlier, specific areas where there continues to be high population, so we can properly focus our efforts in the right areas. We do want to continue the Trap and Euthanize pilot, and in the next year, one of the things that will be happening is working with our state delegation to extend, or if we can, make permanent the urban deer management pilot program. This council several years ago advocated for and assisted us in encouraging our state delegation. We've had excellent help from Assembly Member Hunter and Senator May to pass specific state legislation that allowed Syracuse to conduct an urban deer management pilot. The state has been interested in this program because it is a chance for it to learn how this can be done successfully in urban areas. That program had a 3-year life, and so it needs to be renewed. It is important to Syracuse, and I will ask the council to consider assistance again in communicating to our delegation and to the governor's office that we want to see this program continue in the city. And I
just
think
wanted to speak to
That's it.
Councilor Williams' point about any constituent concerns or cause. And for myself, I was expecting a lot more, but I only received one email concerning the Trap and Euthanize, and I think their main concern was the euthanization portion of it. And they kind of didn't want that to happen. But outside of that, I had not received a lot of feedback with negative or positive comments. So
thank you for that information.
Greg, both living in and representing a neighborhood that has significant deer activity and impact from the deer. I'd like to thank you and your team in the USDA and Nader, both your time as a counselor and as auditor, for getting this program up and running and continuing it. And I hope that we are able to continue to do so in the future. And just so my colleagues know, Greg and I attended a meeting up at Thorndon Park 2 or 3 weeks ago, as you mentioned, with the USDA, with representation from outside communities, and we're really having a pretty significant impact on the rose garden. The health and vitality of all of the plants in the rose garden really being detrimentally impacted. And I knew that there was deer activity in the park, didn't realize it had made its way down to the rose garden. And when you actually get a guided tour from folks that work with the roses day in and day out, and you realize that plants that are that high should be, flowering and about 3-4 feet tall, it's a very easy visual indicator and representation that we've got significant challenges with the deer population.
That publicly displays what isn't seen in other parts of our parks where these conditions exist, and in people's private properties where it's, we don't see that, but we have residents who are experiencing it all summer long. And it comes then with that fear that they have of being in their own yards or having their children in their yards about the risk of a tick-borne illness. Madam President, if I could, I just want to quickly note we have with us today a number of people who have been participating and assisting with this. They're available if there are any questions. But with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Justin Gansowski, with the U.S. Geological Survey, and a professor emeritus, I think it is, at ESF, Brian Underwood, is here. I noted earlier Chief Schaaf is here because of the police department's involvement. And I do also want to recognize the Parks Department, which acts as a administrative host to this program. You all know, I think this ends up in the Parks Department's budget. And Casey Craig, Chris Abbott, and Saisha Bird all put significant effort into making sure that this program is conducted safely. There are also a number of people who I will just thank in the aggregate to say thank you to our Tick and Deer Management Advisory Group members, and repeat Councilor Williams' thanks to Nader Maroon, who's been at this longer than all of us.
Nader, how'd your garden do this year? How did your garden do this year?
Some of us survived.
But only because I put up flashers, that was a deterrent. Had to find plantings that the deer don't really like marigolds.
Oh, yeah.
Peonies, to try to prevent it. But they're back. I just had a piece of pictures of one of them in my yard at 3 a.m. We just don't. I have lawns born every year. Had 4 so far born in my myrtles in my yard.
I think that the one of the most important pieces for the euthanization part is the fact that the meat is donated to the food banks. If someone you work with the food bank, that part of it. So if you can just give us information on once the deer is caught, euthanized, and then turned over to the food bank, like what is that process in like days, hours? How does that work?
Well, the deer are all taken immediately to the processor, who is a certified, New York State processor, does this as part of their living. Then, it's all in their hands at that point. But usually by the end of the week, they're fully processed, and I think the food bank actually comes to them and picks up the meat directly from their facility.
So within a 4 to 5 day span, this takes place?
Yeah. And they have all the freezers and facilities. So if it's a 2-week process, it's got to fit on the food bank schedule.
Yeah.
But they come get it as when they have a load and deliver it directly.
Justin and his team work what we could sort of call a swing shift, I guess. So he's, in addition to obviously operating always at nightfall, then it goes into the early mornings of the early hours of the morning because they don't finish their shift without making sure that delivery is done to the processor. And then Justin takes my calls at 7 a.m.
Everything's handled by our staff directly from the city to the processor. Is all by, we don't hire anybody out. It's all us.
Thank you.
Councilor Williams?
Please.
So, as was just mentioned, I've been at this for 16 years. And it's something that when I was a counselor, the previous administration didn't choose to participate in this program. I went to the town of DeWitt with Brian, with Justin, and we started the program. I went to the county. I see Commissioner Romeo's here asking for money to do this program. But I want to thank this administration and Greg Lowe. Greg has been a zealot advocate for this program, done a comprehensive job, engaged a lot of different players, and without it, we wouldn't be having the success we have. And for me personally, I've seen a real impact that it's had, not only for the east side, but for our communities as a whole. And as Greg just mentioned, I, as a former counselor, am asking you, the new counselor, to really adhere to what Greg is asking us. We need the support from the governor and from the State Assembly and Senate coming forward for this year. So thank you, Greg, for what you've done. Appreciate it.
You have anything else?
No, I don't. These gentlemen. Let's get up. Yes, please.
I appreciate this. My name is Bob Haley. I've lived in the university area for over 50 years. I am one of the Deer Diarists, which is now 5-6 years in the program. It's wonderful to hear this discussion tonight. I just wanted to mention that there are new things that you've heard today that we haven't heard before. The euthanization is now the best advance in the program, where we have to put down animals like our pets. The euthanization is being done in the same way that, as I understand it, and I felt very good about this year to find out that it was much more the best way to do a necessary issue. I love the comments about more reading, getting the signs down at eye level, at schools, and the open gardens. We have Ed Smith, a classic case. The readers are in the schools, young and old. The parents are just looking for a sign like that. More of those are better. The gardens that are like next to Ed Smith, and I only use that because that's our neighborhood where our children and grandchildren have gone. These are really good steps. Park signs, all of our greenways through the city should have those on in the nature places. So the comment about education and more signs, I think there's an area that could be advanced greatly. Green areas. The numbers, we have a typical city lot in the university area, but it's heavily wooded on the back side. And we're close to the east side in DeWitt where the deer are coming from through drumlins and so on. At one time, our lot's 40 feet wide and 160 feet deep. One time we've had 14 deer in that 40 feet. That was quite a few years ago. We're way down in the count. The deer population is less, the births are less. The accidents have happened over those years. We have 3-4 family members who live in the area, and one of the family members has had a deer collision many years ago. So these are all common problems for the whole city. I think it's a great program. I would encourage the education of it to be advanced as much as any other component, and thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
And Greg, the creek walk. Let's look at signage for the creek walks as well.
Easily done.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
But it's not public comment.
Morning, councilors. My name is Nancy Larson. I live on Meadowbrook Drive. I have lived there for 19 years. I was thrilled the first spring I lived there to see a family of deer walk across my yard. I am here to speak on behalf of the many neighbors who love the deer and have seen their numbers greatly decrease to practically zero at least in my neighborhood, with respect to my neighbor Nader. I have not seen, since January, I've seen a total of 12 deer, which I know most of this group would consider a success. I would submit, number one, there was never any proof before this program came into effect that the increased deer, the number of deer in the area, were a cause of increased Lyme disease. Though the program is called a tick and deer management program, it is really a deer killing program as far as I'm concerned. In a city where our budget perennially has issues funding police and fire and parks, I don't know why we're spending $60,000 a year on this. The numbers of deer have definitely come down, as even Mr. Lowe has testified. And there are a great number of people who very much enjoy the presence of the deer. It's part of the neighborhood. Yes, I'm a gardener. I was very sad the first year I lived there and then discovered I'd planted tulips on the path the deer take through my yard. As soon as the buds are ready to open, the deer nibble off the buds. So what did I do? Did I say, I should kill those deer? I said, I shouldn't plant tulips on the deer path. There are plenty of, if you want to see my gardens, I'd be happy to show you the 7 gardens I put in my yard. Excuse me. There are other ways to maintain control of deer with fences, different plantings, other than killing them, and particularly the trap and euthanize program. The trap and kill program, I think, is particularly egregious in that deer who have come to an area and expect to be safe are being trapped, even though you might argue it's a humane way to do it. I would like to see a film of how it's done and how the deer look when they are trapped and killed. And we might have some different sentiments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Larson. And with that, Mr. Lowe, we are going to call this committee meeting adjourned.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
So you're